What's up YouTube? This is John Helm with Helm, Woodshop, and Smithy back with another knife making video. This is the 7th episode of a series I'm making on building a cable Damascus everyday carry knife for a buddy of mine. If you watched my last episode, I welded up this. This is a stack of little cable Damascus billets that are ready to be forge welded back together. And at the end of my last episode, I guess I was feeling optimistic. I looked at this and I thought, yeah, that'll be plenty of steel to make a blade, but now that I have taken a closer look at it and I thought about all the scale I'm going to lose and all the grinding I'm going to have to do to get rid of these weld marks, it's just not going to be enough. So I have a few options that I can take. I can make up some more cable Damascus or maybe salvage some off the other pieces that I've already made and stick them onto this billet, make it taller, forge it out, the whole blade will be regular cable Damascus. Or I could take a piece of high carbon steel or tool steel, stick it onto one side of this, weld it up, forge out a knife, and then that side will become the cutting edge. I've seen some people do it that way and it looks really nice. The third option though is I could take two little pieces of mild steel and weld them onto either side and make a sand my blade. And I've never made a sand my blade. I've never made a cable Damascus blade. So I guess in keeping with the spirit of trying new things, I'm going to go with the sand my. Alright, so this first heat, I'm just going to get it nice and clean, give it a good brush. Then I'm going to try to stick the billet together nice and tight. Make sure I get rid of any of those air pockets in between these individual pieces have been stacked up. So just give it a light hammering. Try to keep it square. A tall piece like this likes to bend on you. And then we're going to flex it. And back into the fire it goes. First welding heat, looks nice and hot. This is going to be the last welding heat that I take on this, and I'm going to start drawing it out into a bar. But when you draw out Damascus, you need to work it when it is as hot as you can get it. Otherwise, you risk delaminating the layers that you welded together and ruining the piece. So, that's about as cold as I want to let it get. And here we are. You can see it's drawn out. I didn't get quite 1.5 inches in width out of it, but that's not a big deal. I can just cut the other pieces to fit it. And a little bit more than 1/4 inch in width. Nice and straight, so it should be pretty easy to grind. So I'm going to take the scale off of this with an angle grinder, and then I'll get it nice and flat on the belt grinder and we can inspect it, make sure everything's good. You can see here at the base, the very last bits didn't weld up. And at the other tip, that piece didn't weld up. No biggie though, that's to be expected. Anytime you make a Damascus billet, always make it bigger than you need it because it's going to wind up being smaller. So I ground down that piece of Damascus and I did it. We have a pristine piece of steel here. It is beautiful. It is shiny. I'm pretty stoked. This has worked out well. And it feels good, man. It feels great coming out, taking on a challenge, working to get past the obstacles that are thrown in my way in order to achieve it, and then finally getting the goal. It's a great feeling. If you don't do it, go out in the garage, even if it's not blacksmithing, just do something. Do something with your hands. And when you're done, you're gonna look at it and you're gonna be really happy that you did. I'm going to follow the same procedure I followed on the last stack we did. Get it nice and hot. Just try to tap all the pieces together. It's nice and tight. Give it a brush. Mostly on the sides where the cracks are. That's really where you want to make sure you keep it clean. That's the area where you don't want any of the scale getting into those welds. Alright, so you probably noticed that when I'm forging this down, I've been forging it equally on both sides. And the reason for that is that I don't want the mild steel on either side to get forged down more on one half than it is the other. Because then when I go to grind it out and expose the Damascus on the bevel, it's gonna be lopsided. I want the edge of my blade to be directly in the center, right in the middle of that piece of Damascus steel, so that we can have the most possibility for sharpening to increase the life of the knife, and also just for the aesthetics of the thing. You don't want to have it lopsided, it just looks goofy. Alright y'all, it is done. It is forged out into a billet. Woo! And the handle is hot. So I can see some nasty scale marks and occlusions and things on the surface, but that's not the edges where it was welded together. That's the flats. So that's nothing to worry about. They're all consolidated on one side, so that'll just be the side that I put the bevel on, because it'll have to get ground out anyway. No worries. Other than that, the weld looks like it's stuck beautifully. I mean, I think we are good to go with this. I was thinking about forging it out into the shape of a knife, but actually, I think I'm going to grind this billet flat and make a stock removal from it. Because I'm afraid to try to forge on it sideways, peel those layers apart. That's always a risk. Of course, it can be done, but I've never done it. And I think I've done enough things that I've never done in this video series. So I'm going to play it safe. I want to make sure that this works out well. I don't want to have to start from scratch, because that is no fun. Alright y'all, I went ahead and rough ground this billet off camera and we're looking good. No deep delaminations, nothing like that. Everything was pretty easy to grind out. Got a little bit of a wobbly edge because it was deeper in some areas than it was in others, but that's not a big issue. It's a real chunky piece, very thick. I could forge it out further than this and make a much bigger knife, but I really don't want to do that because some of these hammer marks are pretty deep. It's going to take quite a bit of grinding to get down to the base of them. That's not any different than forging it out further, but I know that if I do forge it out further, I'm going to wind up with some more deep hammer marks. It comes with the territory. And I really don't want to grind through the mild steel anywhere on the blade that I don't intend to grind through it, i.e. along the bevel. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it as is just to be safe. And so that I can get a little bit of a bigger blade on it, I am going to do a partial hidden tang with a welded threaded rod on the end and a nut at the base of the handle. That'll give me a little bit more metal to work with on the blade itself, and it won't wind up being such a small knife. Well, unfortunately, I can't do anything further on the knife today. I started doing this after I got home from work, so I'm kind of running out of time. And not only that, I am also out of charcoal and I am out of low grit 2x72 belts. So I couldn't do much more today if I wanted to. But I will be back on another episode where we will get this billet turned into, hopefully, at least the profile of a knife. Until next time, as always, if you have any comments, please leave them below, like and subscribe.